let's talk about stripping, because that's a good subject. It's something I get asked a ton about, and I'll tell you what I tell everybody. I tell you guys, the super secret is you don't need to strip paint as much as you think you do. A lot of people, they think it's very necessary. It is not. This is kind of my favorite thing, actually, is like uh, not needing to strip, or finding good deals that maybe they're ugly, but you don't need to strip them. Because a lot of times you don't actually need to strip models, because one great thing about like all this hobby stuff, there's very few techniques that are permanent, or that are like that will inflict damage to your miniatures. So and my favorite example of like, oh, if paint will obscure all the details and whatnot, is Magma Tracks. Magma Tracks is a golden Slayer Sword winning model, and that model was primed over. It was started halfway painted and then started again with a primer, not even stripped, primed over, and it won a freaking Slayer Sword. And then obviously, yeah, you go the route of I don't remember which YouTuber is like the 100 coats of paint on a miniature. Maybe that will do it. So let's just compare a couple of issues here, because that's what I want to show you guys about. So this guy is a pretty good example here. Well, let's start with this guy. This guy is like pretty much what you'd find like in the second. Very similar to what you'd find like in a store, like in second-hand shop or whatnot. Somebody started painting it. It's in there, and then maybe we move these. Yeah. So I think this guy is a very common like sighting in any game store. Krenon the Relentless, or Chaos Lord, or whatever. And now maybe your instinct would be, gotta strip it. If I buy it, I'm gonna have to strip it. It's started. It's garbage. But it's not really. This model I would paint straight over. And I think there's no reason. First of all, the first thing you should notice is the primer is not like gunked up, right? There's no big pools of primer anywhere. It might be maybe on the thicker side of things, but it's really not like a problem, You can see every single detail. There's nothing really oppressed. And then you can see here, let's look at the red is a good example. Not only is it not like caked on or anything, it's not even like a clean coat. So that means that the red was like somewhat thin enough, and that it didn't even cover the black primer here. So this model would be a no-go in terms of stripping. There's no upside really to stripping this model, unless I don't even know, unless you want to start on white or something, and even then you could probably prime it again. It's like add a coat of white, and you'd be kind of set there. And then obviously the couple of things here that I would want to do is remove a couple of mold lines. There's a big one here. There's one on the gun earlier we saw. Or drill the barrels. Yeah, drill the barrels. Come on. But overall, so this model here would not need to be stripped. So if I was to pick this one up from a secondhand deal, which is exactly how I got my hands on this, I would just be able to repaint it. That's kind of one of the things that I talk about in the eBay rescue video, and we're going to film more of those, but that's neither here nor there. Let's look at this guy here. This is an old metal Raptor guy. He's painted in a pretty standard, what's that called? Emperor's Children colors, the classic purple and gold. And now this model is very similar to our Krenon the Relentless, maybe slightly better. But we can see there's some damage here because this guy is metal, and we can see here like the bottom here is like all scraped. And the grenades here. So we can see this has some damage. Now this guy here is like twofold. So first of all, if we prime it again, this is kind of nasty because it's a metal model, and if we prime it, it's going to get kind of damaged because the primer is not going to be as strong. We can guess that this has been primed before, simply because, let's look at the gold. We can see through the gold in some areas. We can see through the plasma gun in some areas. Like here, it's clearly just like not painted. So we can guess that this has been primed before. So we'd be kind of good to go with just a coat of primer. But the main difference is this guy here, metal. So much easier to strip, right? So you have to worry a little bit less. You can leave it in there. And we'll talk about what you use to strip after this. So this guy here, kind of interesting. I would reprime it because it is metal and there's some metallic parts showing, and then we don't want that because then nothing good will come out of it. But I could say you could go either way. You could strip or you could prime over it. I could go either way. The fact that it's metal, it lends itself a little bit better to stripping. And now let's look at our third option here. Larry the Lord. He's an old ass Necron. This guy metal as well, and this guy would be 100% stripped. In fact, I'm gonna strip it after this. So maybe when you see the video, it's edited and this guy is like back to its original 2003 glory. But this guy is getting stripped for sure, and the reason for that, first of all, metal, so very easy to strip. But second of all, we can't paint on top of this, and we cannot reprime on top of this because you can see the paint is very heavy. Let's try to get a close-up. There we go. Extreme close-up. So here on the chest piece, you can see it's kind of like caked on, right? Like on the, if I can point here, on this side here, the right side, it's like all caked on. Man, this camera is like actually pretty good at like close-ups and everything. So, but you can see here the chest piece is like all caked up. So if we paint over that, now we get closer to the 100 layers of paint. And what does it look like? Same thing with the claw. The claw here, like look at all these fingers. They're like all chubby. I don't want my robot to have like big sausage fingers. That's not. So this model here would be 100% stripped because if you add any more. Like there's already too much paint, so if you add some more, it's not gonna work. Whereas these two models, if you add some more, not a big deal. Now, which brings us to the second thing. Now that I've decided to strip Larry the Lord, what do I do it with? A couple of options. So first of all, I don't strip a lot of miniatures. Over the years, I've stripped like 2 armies total. And because I prefer to focus on these kinds of models that are maybe looked down by some people, but that I can just like start over or keep painting. Like this one, I could even like keep painting, just like because it's decent enough, and you just like add colors. So I prefer to do this, but in the rare instances where I have to strip, a couple of options. So the first one, my all-time favorite is Simple Green. Simple Green is really great. It's green, obviously, as the name suggests. It is non-toxic and it smells like root beer. So I like it. I get it here at Canadian Tire. It's in Canada. It's the only place I recall have it, but I think Amazon has some, so I'll try to put a link somewhere. The bad thing about Simple Green is sometimes it will leave your primer on. So if you know that the primer is not like the problem, for example, our guy here, we can assume that the primer is not really the issue. It's the 73 coats of silver that were on there. It's a lucky guess. So if you primed it yourself and then you tried your brand new airbrush and then you were like 76 coats deep into trying all sorts of things, but the primer's flawless, Simple Green's gonna just do great, because then you just need to wash it after a Simple Green and you're good to go. And then there's Super Purple, and this has a couple of different names, but it's basically Simple Green that is on steroids. So it's Simple Green. It's the toxic and more potent version of Simple Green, which is called Super Purple or Power Purple or something. It's just pretty great. It works really well, and both of these work on plastic. The purple thing I've never used. I just know for a fact that one of my friends, he strips a lot of things, and that's what he uses. So I would not let my models like sit down. The Simple Green thing, I've let my models sit in there for like overnight, and plastic, metal, whatever you, no damage whatsoever. But you always have to be careful. Second old school pirate trick, easy off oven cleaner. Works really well. Usually also keeps the primer on, but it strips paint like nobody's business. One of the best ones is isopropyl alcohol. So you go to a drugstore and then you buy this. You have to ask for it, and then they tell you, don't drink it, and that's not what it's for. And it's like 90 proof or over, so 90, 95, or 99, and that thing works. It works, and again, doesn't damage your stuff. Metal models, you can use like a whole lot of things, like brake fluid for cars, pine sol from like floor mopping, whatever. So there's a lot of things. And then if you're serious into like stripping models, like you're gonna buy like them off cheap and then you intend on reselling them, or you're gonna buy them super cheap and then repaint them, like I did a couple of times. You can get an ultrasonic cleaner. I'll put a link on there. It's just a little machine. It like eats up and shakes up, and it just it strips away paint. It's also a supersonic cleaner is also great, like to wash tools. So if you want to wash your airbrush and everything, it's really nice. But it's also very helpful to strip models. It's a little bit costly, so if you have like only like a handful of models, I probably wouldn't go that way, because it's like, why? But if you have an airbrush, if you have an airbrush, it's a decent purchase. And if you plan on buying a lot of like secondhand models, it's probably worth it. Like you're gonna get your money's worth with an ultrasonic cleaner really fast. And then the most important thing is like, if it's the first time that you're using like a solution, and if it's plastic, don't let your models in there too long. Okay, you can try like, you leave it like, I don't know, 10 minutes or 30 minutes. You check on it, you shake it a little bit, you see if the paint comes off, and you dip it back in and leave it there another 30 minutes or another hour. You won't like fucking like dissolve your entire model, and then you're gonna leave an angry comment on the video. Oh my god, I've destroyed my perfectly good, I don't know what, because I watch your video, you dumb French guy. No. I warned you about this. If it's the first time that you're using a product, test it on something before if you want, or go really in short increments of time, okay? This is very important. But friendly reminder, last time I say this, a lot of miniatures, we are lucky with the miniature paint thing, because all and most acrylic paints, you do not need to strip it. So you have a lot of like leeway of what you can and cannot do before stripping. So I hope that was helpful. But definitely, I'm more of this type of model, more of this type of thing person, of like, it looks like trash because like it's started but not finished, like nothing on it's finished, and it's weird colors, but you can easily repaint over it without having to start again, which is my favorite thing.